guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called The Monster Knight Wants Parental Leave. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Our story begins with the infamous Black Monster, a nickname given to Lucia, the commander of the Black Knights. She's a woman respected and feared, so strong that she held the position of commander of the Imperial Knights when she was 20. Fierce as ever, she makes an entrance into the room where the Emperor has called for her presence. But her manner of talking offends the onlookers. They think she's too insolent. Luckily, the Emperor pays them no mind. He dismisses everyone in the room, giving Lucia and himself some privacy. It's been 5 years since she became a commander, and the Emperor is interested to see just how much progress she's made in her training. He's hoping that she becomes the 4th swordmaster of the continent. A swordmaster is a title for the most elite swordsman. Currently, there are 3 swordmasters, one belonging to the Empire, and the 2 each belonging to its rival nations. The Empire itself possesses the strongest swordmaster, the Supreme Commander, but he's set to retire soon, which means the Empire's military strength would face great loss. To ensure the Empire's strength in arms, the Emperor ordered Lucia to train for 5 years. Since her skill in swordsmanship is unrivaled, he wants her to become the youngest swordmaster in history. Unfortunately for him, things don't go as planned when Lucia requests to take a parental leave. Apparently, Lucia has a 5-year-old child and she wants to focus on taking care of her, something that knocks the air out of the Emperor's lungs. The day before she was summoned by the Emperor, Lucia woke up disoriented. The last thing she remembers is being a Grand Master and spending 40 years in seclusion in the mountains. She's sure that she was dying. So how is it that she's still alive? Just then, Burl calls out to her from outside the door. She pauses, confused. How did Burl Altrout, someone who isn't even a swordmaster, manage to reach her residence in the mountains? Curious, she opens the door, but the man before her shocks her. He looks exactly like Burl when he was in his youth. It then hits Lucia. This man is probably Burl's son. Lucia goes back into her room to prepare, but when Lucia catches a glimpse of her reflection, she's left speechless. She looks exactly like she used to when she was in her 20s. Even her battle scars from years of combat are gone. Yep, she definitely thinks she's insane. Moments later, Burl informs her that the Emperor has summoned her to the palace. She learns from him that it's currently the 5th year of the new empire, the same year she first became a swordmaster. Finally, she catches on. She's traveled back to the past. Just then, a memory of her only regret in life flashes. The image of a young child with the same hair as her. That night, Lucia recalls the events leading to her biggest regret. The Emperor had given her a royal decree relating to the protection of the Saintess. Little did she know that it wasn't protection at all. In truth, she unknowingly participated in the sealing of an innocent child. You see, when the Empire became the new empire, the prophesied black corruption laid waste to the land. Amid the chaos, the Saintess appeared alongside the sacred tree. Together, these forces of light restored and enriched the empire. But the emergence of the sacred tree was never in the prophecy. Lucia had come to know that corrupt officials had staged it to exploit the Saintess's power. Ugh, their greed is disgusting. Determined, she vows not to repeat the same sins in this life. No matter what, she must save the Saintess. The following day, Lucia heads to a harbor near the capital with one goal in mind: to find the Saintess. Using her powers, she breaks into a locked room where exotic birds are caged. Clearly, this is a smuggler's warehouse. She uses her powers to scan the room, and after an exhausting search, an overwhelming sense of urgency overtakes her when she finally finds the child. But now that she's face to face with her, she realizes she has no idea how to deal with children, especially now that she's being called Mother. I mean, they do look alike. In the 4th year of the new empire, a girl named Mia awakes Annie, the Saintess, from a nightmare. Mia is like an older sister to Annie, and it pains her to leave Annie behind now that she's just been adopted. Unbeknownst to her, Annie feels the same way. She can't help but think of how sad it'll be when Mia leaves. After all, it was Mia who held her hand through everything when her own mother couldn't anymore. At present, Lucia straightforwardly admits that she's not her mother, but she gently reaches a hand out, reassuring Annie that she's come to save her. To her dismay, the child isn't easily assured, and an awkward silence settles between them. Who knew making amends was this difficult? She tries again, but Annie refuses. She tells Lucia she can't leave. She needs to clean the room because if she doesn't, everything will hurt. Lucia's brows furrow. In the past, she recalls the Saintess having divine strength granted by God. It's one of the reasons she survived for years after being sealed in the tree, after all. But for her, a little child, to say that she's hurting? Lucia can only imagine what pain her captors had inflicted on her. Just the thought of it angers Lucia. Questions plague her. Where are the child's parents? How did she end up here? But Annie only manages to tell her that she's an orphan. Lucia's gaze softens. Looking back, she too barely had any parental figures growing up. 2 peas in a pod. Just then, a brilliant idea strikes her. She and the Saintess can become each other's family. Hearing this, Annie's eyes widen in awe. But just as she's about to take Lucia's hand, her captors arrive. Luckily, Lucia has no plans of leaving her there. As fast as lightning, she scoops Annie in her arms and escapes. Without thinking twice, Lucia brings the child back to her own quarters within the Black Knight's camp. She immediately draws her a bath, but is interrupted when Burl informs her that it's time to head to the palace. Although it's risky, Lucia has to leave Annie behind. Carefully, she instructs her to remain inside the room and to stay as quiet as possible. On the way to the palace, Lucia inquires about Burl's niece. Burl, on the other hand, feels tears pricking at his eyes. He can't believe Lucia remembers his niece. I mean, how could Lucia forget? Years ago, Lucia and Leon Ruins, commander of the White Knights and often called Lucia's rival, found themselves in gruesome duel. The prize? The loser had to grant the victor a wish. Naturally, Lucia won with ease, but seeing how she desired nothing, she used her wish to grant Burl's heavily pregnant sister a leave of absence. After all, it's better than having to quit her job entirely. Recalling this, an idea sparks. A parental leave is exactly what she needs. Now that she's committed herself to saving the Saintess, she can't afford to quit her job as commander. All she needs is 6 months. 6 months to build a safe environment for the child and track down the people plotting to seal her. Before the Emperor, Lucia tells him about her child and fabricates a story about her dead husband. Unexpectedly, the Emperor's aura darkens. He accuses Lucia of negligence of duty and exploiting Imperial facilities to raise her child. Lucia becoming a mother and taking a break from her duties definitely isn't in his bingo card. Lucia, though, is unfazed. She shows off her might to counter him, bringing him to silence. Seeing her power, the Emperor's mood instantly lightens and he immediately grants Lucia a 100% paid childcare leave. Later that night, she returns back to the Black Knight's camp, just in time to save Annie from a disaster in the bathroom. Inwardly, she sighs. Raising a child is harder than she thought. Lucia has 11 years before the child awakens as the Saintess. It's only been a few days since her leave and she's already struggling to make ends meet for the both of them. Just then, Annie speaks up, expressing that she should go back to the orphanage. Tears form and she apologizes profusely for being dirty and leaving muddy footprints on the floor. My heart breaks for everything she's been through. Gently, Lucia soothes her, expressing that she won't be sent back to the orphanage. As for the mess, she admits that they do have to maintain the cleanliness since they're currently living in Imperial facility housing. This makes Annie's lip tremble. She's heard about the Imperial Palace before from Mia, where people with glowy and shiny skin lived without worrying for food. People like her real mother. If she cleans and does housework, then maybe she'll see her mother again. Maybe this time she'd even get to stay by her side longer. With renewed vigor, she then tells Lucia that she'll take care of the mess. Hearing her so determined, Lucia feels her heart melt. But on a more serious note, she needs to brief Annie on a few things. For one, she should start calling Lucia Mom as soon as possible. As for her name, they'd have to change that too. Lucia is about to give her a new name when suddenly she's on high alert. There are intruders. Ever so swiftly, she draws her sword, only to see her comrades, Vernon, Gillian, and Heath, infiltrate her room through the window. It's been 5 years since they last saw each other, but they aren't here for Lucia. Rather, they're here to see Annie. Like curious puppies, they all crowd around her, making Annie flustered. Annie, however, can't keep up with their energy, and she soon falls asleep in Lucia's arms. Lucia then tucks her to bed, giving her a new name, Nia. This brings Annie comfort. It's so close to her mother's own name, Lavinia Kluwer. I'm really curious about her mom. When Lucia rejoins everyone, she's instantly subjected to an interrogation. Of course, Lucia dodges the baby daddy questions. She does, however, tell them that the child's father has been raising Nia these past few years. This surprises everyone, but they're quick to point out that now Lucia would need to hire a nanny for the child. Surely she's not planning to raise Nia without help, right? To their shock, that's exactly what Lucia plans to do. One by one, they give her an earful, something that she pays no mind to. But her attention is caught when, all of a sudden, they agree among themselves about the division of labor. Lucia vehemently refuses their help. However, they already anticipated her refusal. From Vernon's pocket, he produces a written decree from the Emperor that commands Lucia to accommodate them. Well, more like they force the Emperor to let them help and support Lucia. To them, it's a no-brainer. They just miss Lucia. It's been 5 years since she's left to train as a swordmaster after all. Exhaling, she finally allows them to do as they please. Her only condition? That floor cleaning is off limits and they're only allowed to help for the duration of her leave. This makes them smile. Satisfied, they finally take their leave. But just when Lucia thought she'd get some peace and quiet, Burl barges into the room in tears. He feels so betrayed that Lucia didn't tell him about her leave. Tired, she tells Burl to shoo away quickly. But then another person storms in, the walking angel himself, Leon Ruins. Angrily, he demands to know who the child's father is. Skeptical that he's in cahoots with the Chancellor, Lucy refuses to answer him. This only fuels his anger. Menacingly, he threatens that if he ever finds out who the father is, he'll kill the guy himself. Does he have a thing for Lucia? Elsewhere, Lucia's friends converse. They aren't buying that Nia is actually Lucia's, but it doesn't matter. All they care about is that Lucia really cares for this child. Back inside, Leon glares at Lucia, his face red. Earlier that day, he had marched into the Emperor's office demanding answers. The child's father had run off, he said. Little did he know that the Emperor was telling a white lie. Looking at Lucia's stern expression, Leon feels his emotions stirring. 5 years ago, he can no longer hide his feelings for Lucia. He challenged her to a duel, hoping that he'd catch her interest and have her grant him a wish, but that quickly backfired on him. Unable to stand everything, he turns on his heel and storms off. Days later, everyone sits in utter disapproval as they watch Nia on all fours scrubbing the floor with nothing but a tiny rag. They offer to take her place, but Nia insists she do it herself. Even worse, Lucia isn't bothered at all. Breaking the tension, Heath reminds Lucia that it's already May. Hearing this, Lucia recalls that Heath's birthday is coming up, making him beam with joy. Years ago, during Lucia's first mission to subjugate a monster, she picked Heath up from the scene. Ever since then, he'd always come to see her every May. Suddenly, a knock is heard. A servant announces that Leon has sent something to Lucia. Curious, Vernon and Gillian peer into the hallway, and their eyes immediately widen. Lucia follows suit and sees that boxes upon boxes are being hauled into her residence. The cherry on top? A note that says, "I won't hide it anymore." Yet despite the grand display, Lucia can't help but feel suspicious. After all, Leon is the son of one of the Empire's chancellors. More so, if he really had good intentions, why would he send gender-neutral clothes for Nia? I wonder what his real intentions are. Among the many gifts, Gillian manages to find a few dresses. She and the others excitedly present them to Nia, only to be met with a horrified expression on her face. Sensing her discomfort, Lucia sends everyone away. Nia is beside herself. Tears well in her eyes as she tells Lucia about her fears of getting the new clothes dirty. To her, being dirty equates to being useless. Lucia's heart breaks. Just how many cuts have wounded this child's heart? Still, this is something she needs to resolve. She orders Nia to bring her soiled gloves. Inside the bathroom, she dunks the gloves in a basin of water, and together they wash them clean. Nia remarks that the gloves now smell nice, like flowers. This prompts Lucia to press her cheek onto Nia's face, stating that she smells the same. Lovingly, she admits that she wouldn't want Nia to avoid her no matter what. If something is dirty, she can always just wash it off. This precious moment scores Nia's heart. She always puts herself down because of her dirty appearance. But now, Lucia has just taught her an important lesson. For the first time in a while, Nia feels seen and wanted. From behind them, Heath sees their interaction, his expression unreadable. He looks hurt. The following day, Lucia wakes up with Nia snuggling close to her. Just then, Vernon knocks. An important letter has arrived. It's an invitation to the Knights' Order Assembly, and Lucia is expected to attend. For the past 5 years, Burl has been attending on her behalf. But now that she's finished training and is on leave, there's no way to get out of it. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Knights Administration office, Burl sulks. He had worked himself to the bone for years, only to find out that Lucia doesn't appreciate him enough to tell him about her leave. Come on, Burl, don't take it personally. His idea of retaliation? Rebelling against her. Then again, he's too diligent to taint his work ethic. When Ed hands him Lucia's reply to the Knight's Order Assembly, it leaves Burl in disbelief. Elsewhere, the assembly commences, and for the first time in 5 years, Lucia is present. The Red Division of Knights burn with tempers as fiery as their captain, Bengar. Meanwhile, the Yellow Division serves the Emperor directly. However, whenever a crisis occurs, the Emperor always summons Lucia, making the Yellow Division feel insulted. For years, the divisions have clashed, so it is no surprise that today's meeting brims with hostility. Bengar opens with mockery aimed at Lucia. Though the Yellow Captain stops him, Bengar persists. That is, until Leon, the captain of the White Knights, enters and calls him out. Being defended by Leon like that, Lucia is caught off guard. But before she can think more of it, the meeting begins. The military budget is their first concern. The Yellow Captain thinks it's absurd. The Empire may desire mana stones, but the trade-off of sending so much supplies to the Kingdom of Hasnas, a land brimming with mana stones, would cripple the Empire's economy in the long run. Lucia shares the same sentiments with the Yellow Captain, but the Imperial representative reassures them that it's all tentative. As for the supplies, upstart nobles have pledged to sponsor support. Bengar only laughs, ridiculing nobles for masking greed as generosity. The discussion continues, and the mention of the temple alarms Lucia. She recalls how a sham the temple was in the past, sacrificing the Saintess and exploiting her power for their own gain. When the meeting adjourns, Burl approaches to meet Lucia, but Bengar strikes again, spewing insults at the Black Knights. This time, Lucia refuses to let it slide. An ominous bloodlust floods the air, forcing Bengar to his knees. She warns him to respect Burl, reminding him that in her absence, Burl represents the Black Knights. Yes, Queen, put him in his place! Meanwhile, back at the Black Knights camp, Nia is left under Heath's care. She enthusiastically sets items for Lucia and herself, but in her excitement, she accidentally breaks a plate in two. When Heath finds Nia, she's already in tears, terrified that breaking a plate will prompt Lucia to abandon her. Overwhelmed, her divine power leaks out, shocking Heath. Black hair, immense divine power, she fits the temple's description of the long-sought Saintess. The thought tempts Heath. If he hands Nia over to the temple, he'd be rewarded enough to afford a continental trip with Lucia. He tries to suppress her, but her raging power engulfs the room. She's on the brink of losing control, just like he once did. Before Lucia picked him up, Heath lived in a mountainous village with his father. Heath was a mage, and his father liked making money out of him. One day, a fearsome monster appeared, and everyone counted on Heath to expel it. Being a literal child, he was consumed by everyone's pressure. He channeled as much power as he could and went berserk. His entire village was a casualty. The pain, the guilt, it's not something he would ever want Nia to experience. Using his own magic, he calms her and even mends the broken plate, much to Nia's comfort. If she wants to remain here, she must live a normal life. She should eat well, sleep soundly, and even make a few friends. Like clockwork, a child with pigtails appears from the doorway, surprising them both. Meanwhile, in the capital, Lucia borrows a childcare book. She's about to leave when Leon rushes up, only to blush furiously at the sight of the cover. Out of character, he offers to help her whenever she needs it. Now that I look at it, is the cover of that childcare book Leon when he was a child? He's so cute! Later in the carriage, Lucy reflects on Leon's odd behavior lately. However, her musings end when the carriage halts. Another carriage blocks the road. While the coachman sorts it out, she wanders nearby, enjoying the scenery, until she peers over a bridge and spots a face she knows all too well. It's the Crown Prince Aiden Eldarion. As soon as they exchange pleasantries, Lucia turns to leave, but Aiden hands her a rattle. Looking at it, Lucia can only interpret it as mockery. Truth be told, the news of Lucia having a child came as a surprise to Aiden. After all, he's been watching her for a long time now. What intrigues him more, though, is who the father is. Lucia had served as his bodyguard when she was just 16, but eventually he took a liking to her. Is this his way of getting back at her? She shoots Aiden a glare, but he's unfazed. He continues his ramblings, expressing that if her child is 5 years old, then she must have gotten knocked up when the war was nearing its end. Hearing this, the ladies erupt in whispers. They all think Lucia is scandalous for sleeping around during the war. Normally, public opinion wouldn't bother Lucia, but today, she's in the mood to silence petty chatterboxes. She exclaims she'll never reveal the father's identity because in the first place, she slept with so many that she can't even pinpoint who the father is. Aiden's nose bleeds at Lucia's words. He moves forward to wipe off blood on her collar, but it's all a stunt to get closer to her. Close enough to whisper a threat. Lucia forgets that the Crown Prince's palace overlooks the training grounds. Not once did Aiden see Lucia with a belly. Putting the pieces together, he guesses the child isn't even hers. But he's willing to keep it a secret. For now. After all, he only wants to get closer to Lucia. Later, Lucia heads home only to find an unfamiliar little girl torturing Vernon. Apparently, she's Gillian's niece, Ivana. Her eyes then scan the room for Nia. She sees her under the table, but thinking they're playing hide-and-seek, she continues walking. That is until Nia rushes out, begging Lucia to stay. This confuses Ivana, though. Why doesn't Nia call Lucia Mom? With all eyes on her, Nia can only admit that she can't bring herself to say Mom. It hurts just trying. Growing up in an orphanage, Nia was used to having precious things taken away from her constantly. She had to hide her feelings to avoid being seen as weak, too. She's kept herself so guarded that she can't even express her feelings through endearments like Mom. Even though they've just met, Ivana becomes protective of Nia. She thinks that the reason why Nia has developed a negative association to the word Mom is because Lucia hits her. Whoa, let's take a chill pill, little girl. Hearing this, Nia rushes to defend Lucia, clarifying that that isn't the case at all. Finally, Gillian gets a hold of Ivana, reprimanding her for her disrespect. She explains that Nia loves Lucia so much that just thinking about the word makes her heart tremble. This makes Lucia pause. She hasn't even done anything motherly to earn Nia's love. A while later, the children head out to play outdoors. Ivana is so thrilled that she wants to visit with her brother next time. Ivana tries to repay Nia's kindness, but soon realizes she's out of pocket money. Instead, she makes it her mission to help Nia utter the word Mom. And it's not just as payment, but because she really wants to help her out because Nia is her first female friend. This makes Nia's heart full. She finally has a friend. Immediately, they try enunciating the word Mom, but it's still too hard for Nia. The fact that she's trying is already so sweet. From a distance, Lucia watches the children with awe, but beside her, she notices that Heath is unusually quiet. It's probably related to the trace of magic she found inside the house. Not wanting to confront him, she casually just tells him to eat sweets to rejuvenate himself. As a response, Heath asks a strange question. What would Lucia do if he disappeared? Smiling subtly, Lucia reminds him that he can't disappear. She said she'd use him for the rest of his life, after all. Listening to this, Heath recalls their first meeting. All Lucia has ever done is to encourage him to live, even if it's by joining the Knight's Order. Thinking about it, he realizes that she's the only person who's never asked anything from him. Instantly, he apologizes and Lucia accepts with a smile. Just then, Gillian arrives bringing desserts made by her family, the same desserts that would be supplied to the Empire's kindergartens. Eldarian Academy is the Empire's most prestigious school, but honestly, Lucia has zero plans of sending Nia to such a place. Moments later, the children head over to Lucia. With Ivana's encouragement, Nia scoots closer to Lucia, calling her Mom in hushed tones. Still shy, she then bolts right after, leaving a stunned Lucia behind. Hearing her say Mom, Lucia realizes that she'd do anything for Nia to enjoy a normal and ordinary life devoid of loneliness, even if it means sending her to kindergarten. Elsewhere, at a parliamentary meeting, a group of nobles led by Count Lender pressures the Emperor into punishing Lucia for neglecting her duties. When he refuses, they become livid. But it becomes worse when the Emperor urges new nobles to participate in court too. Ugh, these older nobles just love monopolizing politics. After the Emperor's exit, Marquis Federin Ruins, the Empire's Prime Minister, indulges Count Lender's coaxing. A great idea indeed. Push Lucia into a corner, and when she defects to another kingdom, Count Lender should take responsibility to bring a new swordmaster to the Empire. This proposition almost makes the Count choke. Looks like someone fears accountability. However, when everyone leaves, Duke Anton Kilgis expresses his support for Count Lender's plans of bringing Lucia down. Meanwhile, at Eldarian Academy, Principal Nordzia Ruins welcomes Emily Tankst, a child of a bankrupt noble family, as a new kindergarten teacher. But Emily's goal isn't to be a great teacher, but rather marry Leon Ruins, the principal's own son. The Empire's most eligible bachelor is Leon Ruins. His only flaw is that he's in love with Lucia, the monster knight, the same person Emily used to bully back when they were students. Still, Emily has a strategy in mind, to win over Leon's mother first. Emily's first task is to interview parents with the principal, but showing off proves to be difficult when Lucia and Nia enter the office. Earlier that day, before the admissions interview, Lucia had noticed Nia becoming too anxious. Could it be that Nia's just nervous being in a new environment? Or is Lucia just being too selfish by imposing this ordinary life on Nia? Stealing a glance and seeing her trembling daughter, Lucia quickly realizes it's the latter. She wants Nia to live an ordinary life, but not at the cost of her happiness. It's a hard pill to swallow, but Lucia makes the tough decision of canceling the interview. When she informs Nia, she is left speechless. When Lucia leaves to process the cancellation, Nia overhears other families talk about kindergarten. From the other parents, she learns that sending children to kindergarten is the best way for parents to raise their children. Hearing this was like a stake to the heart. Had Nia known that Lucia couldn't raise her on her own, she wouldn't have caused any trouble. Just then, her mother arrives back, informing her that canceling takes longer. She's about to tell Nia to hang on for a short while, but she's surprised when Nia exclaims her determination to attend kindergarten. This shocks Lucia, but with Nia's new resolve, she has no choice but to give in. Inside the principal's office, Lucia and Nia sit in silence. Meanwhile, Emily stands in a corner, shaking. Seeing her like that, the principal suggests she go elsewhere, an offer that Emily doesn't refuse. Whatever happened to winning over your mother-in-law? Finally, left alone, Principal Nordzia begins the interview. But when Nia struggles to answer, she quickly catches on that Nia didn't want to be here at all. Knowing this, the principal tries a different approach, making the interview feel like a casual conversation. Ever so gently, she encourages Nia to talk more. Even if she decides not to attend kindergarten, she can still give her mother a gift by talking a lot. After all, mothers treasure their children's stories like precious gems. Who would have thought that the author of the childcare book that Lucia borrowed would be the principal? From the book, Lucia remembers a passage stating that children must be given the courage to speak. She can only hope to do so for Nia. Surprisingly, right after the interview, the principal informs Lucia that Nia has passed. She wanted Lucia to know immediately. After all, she wanted to make up for all the times her son Leon had bothered Lucia. A month later, Lucia and Nia head to a boutique to have Nia's uniform tailored. When they arrive, they are asked to wait a little as the staff are currently serving another customer. While seated, Nia's eyes become glued to the cookies on the coffee table. Watching her, Lucia reflects that this is one of her two bad habits. The first is that Nia is too obsessed with chores. The second is that she doesn't express what she likes. Even now, she can only gaze at the cookies but not communicate that she wants one. Just this once, she decides to give Nia a push. Calling out her attention, Lucia tries to coax Nia into admitting that she wants a cookie. She shares that the cookies look scrumptious, and in her own childhood, she never got the chance to taste one. Just then, she's interrupted when someone greets her. It's Marion, Burl's sister. Her son Caesar introduces himself, and Nia does the same, albeit more concisely. The women's conversation is interrupted when a store staff brings out candies. She asks Nia to take one, but she barely makes a move. Seeing this, Lucia sighs inwardly. That is until Nia begins to speak, asking for a cookie instead. Nia explains that she wants a cookie for Lucia because she's never had one before. Cookie in hand, she then comes running, making Lucia's heart swell. Aw, she's so selfless. We must protect this little girl at all costs. After their errand at the tailor shop, both mother and daughter roam downtown once more. But a growing unease creeps within Lucia. She feels that they're being followed. Cunning as ever, she weaves through a deserted alley, ready for confrontation. There, a whole gang appears, but based on their looks, Lucia can tell they're only teens. She offers them 5 gold and time to disperse. However, they push their luck, determined to rob Lucia dry. From behind Lucia, Nia trembles with fear. Enough is enough, Lucia thinks, as she channels a destructive force of magic in her hands. Panic overtakes the gang, and they flee at a moment's notice, neither one daring to challenge her. Just when she thinks she's taken care of the problem, Lucia is met with another hurdle. Nia is missing. With labored breaths, Nia trails the gang, calling for a familiar name, Mia. The gang notices, but one girl orders them to keep moving. She wants to be alone with the child. Left alone, the girl removes her hood. It's Mia, the older sister Nia had at the orphanage. Nia breaks down in tears at their reunion while Mia is in disbelief. But as sweet as their reunion is, Mia bursts her bubble, warning Nia that whoever adopted her would abandon her soon, just like how her adoptive parents did. Nia disagrees and tries to introduce her to Lucia, But only then does she realize that Lucia isn't behind her. Just then, trouble stirs. The gang's boss arrives. Mia hurriedly hides Nia in a corner, but it's no use. The brute spots her. Mia is restrained, screaming as she's forced to watch the boss lift Nia by the collar, rendering her unconscious. Then, in a blink of an eye, the boss is cut down mercilessly. The Black Knights are here. Moments later, Lucia arrives at the scene, her body coiling with anger. The Black Knights inform her that Nia is safe, albeit in someone else's arms. Glaring daggers at them is Mia, who clutches Nia protectively, unwilling to give her up to unfamiliar people, even if they are her rescuers. Lucia has no time to waste, so in one quick move, she puts Mia to sleep. Cradling Nia in her hands, a wave of relief washes over Lucia, grateful that she's unharmed. Lucia glares at the lifeless body of Nia's captor. Had it been her that caught him, he would have suffered a more painful passing. As the sun sets, Lucia takes both Nia and Mia back to her residence. Before long, Nia regains consciousness, profusely apologizing. Although Lucia wants to reprimand Nia, the incident in itself is already traumatic, so settles with gently telling her off. If there's anywhere Nia wants to go, she shouldn't go alone. She should always take Lucia with her. Sniffing and holding back tears, Nia nods in understanding. When she sees Lucia's wound, she instantly worries. Lucia brushes off her wound, reassuring Nia that it was all to protect her anyway. Nia is touched by her words. Without warning, she uses her divine power, engulfing the room with it and healing Lucia's wound. Lucia is grateful, but she's cut off by Mia, who has just awoken. She lashes out at Lucia, angered that she would dare to take advantage of little Annie. She thinks Lucia only adopted her to exploit her divine power. In tears, she begs her to just send Annie to the temple where she'll be protected. Little does she know that the temple is the worst place for Nia. Bluntly, she tells Mia the truth. The temple will kill Nia if they got a hold of her. It's a secret and truth that only she knows. As to why she's sharing it with Mia is because she trusts her. At her last statement, Mia's lips tremble. It's as if she's just been redeemed. The following day, at the White Mage Court office, Marianne and a co-worker, Jaina, talk about Lucia and Nia. Black hair but golden eyes. They can only guess that the father of Lucia's child is either their own boss, Leon Ruins, or the Crown Prince, Aiden Eldarion. They squeal at their assumptions when suddenly Leon enters the office. He sulks in his chair, upset that he wasn't able to do anything to help Lucia with the recent incident. Just then, his subordinates read through him. They know, more than anyone, that Leon's thoughts are only of Lucia. Trying to lift the mood, Marion informs him that she ran into Lucia at the boutique yesterday. She then sighs, recounting how most parents attend their children's entrance ceremonies as a couple, but Lucia would have to attend alone. But then she comes up with a brilliant idea, one that involves Leon. Oh my, she's trying to wingman Leon! The day of the entrance ceremony at the kindergarten arrives. On the way there, Lucia looks gloomier than usual, but not for the reason we think. She isn't upset about attending alone, but rather, that morning, bad press came out about the Black Knights. Fearing her order's reputation would affect Nia, she chooses to conceal her identity at the kindergarten. Nobody must know she's the commander of such an order. Looking at Lucia, Nia worries, thinking her wound still hurts. With a smile, Lucia reassures her that she's 100% okay, but she warns Nia never to use cotton candy ever again. Apparently, the two have come up with a code word for Nia's divine power, cotton candy. After all, she can't risk anyone overhearing them and snitching to the temple. Finally, the two arrive at Eldarion Kindergarten. The first hour is dedicated to socialization, and Lucia is approached by two women eager to make friends. But when they find out that Lucia doesn't have a husband, their demeanor towards her changes and their expressions darken. They clutch Lucia's shoulders, their faces grim. They then offer her comfort, thinking she's a widower who lost her husband to the war. Other people then overhear them, and parents gather expressing their gratitude for Lucia's husband. It's because of people like him that they're able to stay safe with their children. At this point, Lucia is at a loss for words. She doesn't know whether to go along with it or correct them. Just then, gasps of awe erupt from the direction of the room's entrance. When Lucia looks back, she's surprised to see Leon walk in with Caesar. Before long, parents and children are separated for their respective orientations. For the kindergarteners, they begin with introductions. Ivana and Caesar are first to speak, bubbly introducing themselves and sharing their interests and ambitions. Next is Catherine, the son of a baron who confidently boasts their family's title. Finally, Nia is set to speak. Shy and nervous, she only manages to introduce her name. But her nervousness dissipates as she begins sharing about her mother, who's a brave and strong knight. To her horror, Catherine interrupts, calling her lowborn because of her mother's lack of noble title. Ivana immediately rushes to defend Nia, picking a fight with Catherine. When he continues hurling mean words, Ivana makes the fight physical, making Catherine cry in the process. That's right, Ivana, beat that rude boy up! Meanwhile, at the parents' orientation, Lucia spaces out. That is until Leon approaches her out of the blue. He explains that he had to fill in for Marion, who was preoccupied at the office. Not being a parent himself, he's quite nervous, so he musters up the courage to ask Lucia to accompany him at the entrance ceremony after the orientation. Lucia, though, is unmoved. She flatly rejects Leon, asking him to leave her alone. Sometime later, the children and parents reunite. But having Nia back, Lucia notices she looks unusually down. Just then, whispers and murmurs erupt when the Black Knights arrive, fueling Lucia's anger. Right at the school courtyard, the Black Knights gather, led by Burl. He wants to celebrate the entrance ceremony. When Gillian tries to stop him, Burl resists, and an open argument between them ensues. This is bad. Really, really bad. So much for keeping your identity hidden. Not wanting any part of this, Lucia flees with Nia back into the building. On the way inside, she spots Ivana's parents having a standoff with Catherine's parents. At first, Ivana's mother encourages her daughter to apologize, but when it becomes clear that the other party is downright rude, she doesn't hold back. Frustrated, Catherine and his parents storm off, leaving Ivana's mother fuming. Left alone, Ivana fears her mother's wrath, but luckily, she sees hope from a distance. Trying to distract her mother, Ivana introduces Lucia and Nia, and soon everyone becomes acquainted. Ivana's parents introduce themselves as Julie and Dave Verna. Unfortunately, Lucia can't stay long. She's about to excuse herself when Nia runs off, embracing Ivana. Tearing up, she apologizes for getting Ivana in trouble. Ivana wipes away her tears, reminding her that none of this was her fault. It's all that low-born Catherine's doing. Hearing Ivana say such crude words, Julie berates her daughter, but Ivana breaks her silence. She tells how Catherine looked down on Nia, called her a lowborn, and crushed her ambitions because lowborns weren't allowed to dream. Lucia feels her body stiffen, blood boiling. Normally, status wouldn't bother her, but she never imagined that Nia would suffer from the lack of it. From behind her, a voice calls out, Burl. He greets Lucia loud enough for everyone to hear that she's the Monster Knight, commander of the Black Knights. Is he being for real? This guy is missing all the social cues. Parents immediately begin talking, expressing their disdain for their children being in the same school as a monster child. Lucia feels cornered, overwhelmed, like there's an enemy she can't see and cut down. Just when she feels hopeless, she sees Leon from afar. That's it. He's her ticket out of this situation. Swiftly, she approaches Leon, smiling and asking if his earlier offer still stands. Lucia approaching and clutching his arm? Leon feels his heart racing. Before he can even give an answer, Lucia is already tugging him along, right to where the Black Knights are assembling. Seeing this, curiosity bubbles inside him. Why are the Black Knights here? Burl approaches first. He apologizes for causing a scene, stating that he wasn't aware Lucia was hiding her identity. He's about to continue when Lucia barks out orders for them. There's a red carriage nearby, and inside are smugglers who have taken at least 100 valuable amber and precious gems. Their mission is to catch the smugglers and perform a thorough investigation. Immediately, the Black Knights disperse. Lucia, though, remains in thought. She knows all too well that the amber jewel Catherine's mother wore was smuggled. Karma and Lucia must be good friends because I like where this is going. Suddenly, Lucia feels a tugging on her dress. Looking down, she sees Nia, her eyes expressing concern. If only she knew just what lengths Lucia would go through just to keep her smiling. The following day, Gillian and Vernon hype Nia up for her second day of school. They dress her in her yellow uniform and pack her some baked goods to take along. Yet contrasting the lively energy is Heath, who looks like he hasn't slept in days. From his pocket, he produces a tiny magical jewel that he handcrafted, the Control Stone. That's the stone capable of concealing Nia's divine power. With everything sorted, all that's left to do now is send Nia off to school. But before she does, she gives her some piece of advice. She doesn't have to be friends with everyone, especially if she doesn't like them. It's as if a big weight is lifted off Nia's shoulders upon hearing this. Overjoyed, she tackles Lucia in a hug. Later, Lucia attends a meeting at school. When she enters, her friends from before instantly gush out their support for her and Leon. Luckily for Lucia, the meeting begins before the conversation escalates. The principal, Marchioness Ruins, opens the meeting with an announcement. She shares that Gathrin has been expelled due to his family donating ill-gotten wealth to the kindergarten. She then bows in sincere apology for such a situation to get past her. Next up is selecting parent representatives for each kindergarten class. Lucia's friends both volunteer. Lady Saradin Puppin for Class Duck, Lady Mara Litterin for Class Goose. The kicker? They nominate Lucia as representative for Class Sparrow. Lucia assists with the vote casting, and by coincidence, her friends win as representatives for their chosen classes. Yet the next name she draws makes her freeze. Ringnail Bashav. Before Lucia regressed, she recalls that it was the Bashav family who immediately seized power when the Chancellor retired and the Emperor passed at an early age. Susha Whitney is then drawn for Class Sparrow, but Lucia hesitates. These parents' names, even her so-called friends, are the exact same ones that gained power in the past. Could they really have been involved in the Saintess' sealing? In the past, Lucia had no clue how those families came together to become the Empire's backbone. But now that she thinks about it, perhaps this kindergarten is where it all began. If so, then the plot tied to the Saintess' sealing is already in the works. Realizing the severity of the situation, Lucia cheats. She draws her own name for Class Sparrow's representative. There's no helping it. She needs to keep an eye on those families. Just then, the principal then announces that the temple baptism ceremony for the kindergarten classes should be wrapping up shortly. This shakes Lucia. If the temple finds Nia, there's no stopping them from taking the Saintess. Desperate, she bolts out of the meeting room. Meanwhile, in the next classroom, all the children are eager to befriend Nia, thinking she'll become the next Saintess because of her jet black hair. As if on cue, the temple priests then enter, beginning the baptism ceremony for Class Sparrow. The priest's eyes lock on Nia. Upon learning that she's the Monster Knight's child, they wonder if Nia's jet black hair is just genetics. Still, they suspect that she's the Saintess. They're about to baptize her when suddenly Heath storms in. He puts a necklace on Nia, one housing the control stone. The priests are annoyed, but Emily, the homeroom teacher, just lets him get away with it, unwilling to invite Lucia's wrath. Soon, the baptism ends with no issues. It's all thanks to the control stone. Just then, Lucia comes running, but when she sees Heath's necklace on Nia, she breathes a sigh of relief. She knows the control stone is in there. Smiling, she genuinely thanks Heath for his efforts, making Heath's heart feel full. Before long, Lucia's parental leave comes to an end, marking her return as commander of the Black Knights. She meets the Black Order at the training grounds, but Burrell's absence sparks her curiosity. Vernon informs her that he went to ask permission to use the Grand Training Grounds, which puzzles Lucia even more. Upon reviewing the training schedule, she finds out that among the 4 Knight Orders, the Black Knights had disappeared from usage in the last 6 months. It then hits her. The other orders had kept the Black Knights from using the Grand Training Grounds and all the best equipment during her absence. Angered, Lucia commands the Black Knights to follow her. They have a bone to pick with management. Meanwhile, at the training grounds, the vice captains of the other 3 orders harass Burrell. They refuse to let him insert the Black Knights into the training schedule. Lucia arrives just in time to witness this, earning all the vice captains' shock. She tries to file a schedule, but the red vice captain bars her, showing her no consideration. He then has the guts to tell her to challenge them to a duel if she has a problem. Hearing this, Lucia does exactly as he says. She rampages with all her might, tearing down the Grand Training Grounds. Elsewhere, the Emperor meets with Prime Minister Federin Ruins, asking about the matter of the Crown Prince Aiden's broken engagement. After futile negotiations, Federin finally informs him that they've reached a settlement with the Ferendel Kingdom, bequeathing them with a diamond mine as a compromise. But curiosity gnaws at Federin, and he straightforwardly asks the Emperor the reason for the broken engagement. The Emperor coughs as he hints that it's related to someone who just returned to duty. No way, our girl Lucia? Federin's eyes widen as realization hits him. Unexpectedly, he then erupts in a fit of laughter. The Emperor gets defensive, and he hurriedly explains his reasons. Lucia may be a swordmaster, but her skills are that of a grand swordmaster, one who wields sword energy as if innate within her own body. Naturally, he'd want her to join the royal family. Fortunately, he's confident that Aiden's charms will win Lucia over instantly. But what the Emperor doesn't expect is competition. Federin himself boasts the qualities of his own son, Leon, who stands a better chance of winning Lucia's hand. Suddenly, their conversation is cut short when the ground shakes and rumbles echo through the air. Just then, a knight barges in, informing them that Lucia is destroying the training grounds. With a smug look on his face, Federin leaves the situation to the Emperor, telling him to have Aiden estimate a budget for the new training grounds. There goes the Empire's reserve budget. Later, a disciplinary committee convenes. To their dismay, Lucia refuses her punishment orders. Sly as ever, Count Lender threatens to have her step down, but when Lucia resigns right away, the other nobles are horrified. Just then, Aiden intervenes, settling the matter and whisking Lucia away, much to Count Lender's frustration. Meanwhile, Federer pays his son a visit. He informs him that the mission he refused has been reassigned to Lucia. On top of that, Aiden volunteered to accompany her. Clouded by worry and jealousy, Leon immediately changes his mind. He'll take the mission after all. Aiden and Lucia sit by the palace fountain. Same as always, Aiden's flirtatious attempts are always being shot down by Lucia. Still, he wants to shoot his shot with her. The mission assigned to Lucia is a monster subjugation in the southern territories that would take a week's travel. However, if Lucia accepts to go with Aiden, he promises to use teleportation scrolls, cutting down the mission to just 3 days. Suddenly, a teleportation portal opens and out pops Leon. Immediately, he and Aiden start competing for the mission. Lucia weighs her options. Going with Leon means extra combat power, but going with Aiden would shorten the mission. Getting desperate, Leon then pulls another card up his sleeve. He pledges to use Stonehenge, cutting the mission to just a day. Stonehenge, a powerful type of teleportation magic that can move entire armies during war, is extremely difficult to access permission-wise. If Leon himself volunteered to use it, it's obvious that Chancellor Ruins is pulling strong strings for his son. Thinking hard, Lucia makes her decision. She signs the document and asks Leon to sign it too, implying that she's going with him. Before Leon can process it, the clock strikes 5 and Lucia bolts. It's time to pick Nia up from school. Alone, Aiden shoots Leon a glare. He was so close to getting a date with Lucia. Better luck next time, Crown Prince. The following morning, Class Sparrow welcomes a new student, Princess Charles Eldarion, Aiden's younger sibling. That afternoon, Lucia and Aiden run into each other. Of course, Lucia ignores him, but he tries his best to catch her attention, especially since they're headed to the same place. But his idea of a conversation? Prying about Nia, the one thing Lucia can't stand. With the way Lucia refuses to share anything about Nia, he can only guess that Lucia is hiding a secret. Lucia balls her fists, annoyed at how perceptive Aiden is. She wonders which secret he knows, that Nia is the Saintess or that Nia isn't biologically hers. Frustrated, she corners him. Aiden's nose instantly bleeds, but just then, a little Charles comes running to him worried. Aiden introduces Lucia to his younger sister Charles, making her realize that he was telling the truth from the start. They really were headed to the same place. You win this time, Aiden. The next day, Emily begins her class like usual, but to her surprise, Charles challenges her. From calling her activities boring to even questioning her autonomy as a teacher. Later, during break time, Ivana and Nia invite Charles to play with them. They're building a castle, something that Charles finds completely stupid. Turning to Nia, she then commands her to be her personal maid. This infuriates Ivana, and when her mood doesn't lighten, Caesar comes to intervene. He explains that Charles only wanted Nia's help. Yeah, I don't think that's what this little brat means. Calming down, Ivana then decides to give her a chance. There's no harm in letting Nia go with her, right? As class resumes, Emily gives the children a drawing activity. But trouble soon stirs when Ivana refuses to let Charles use the crayons first. She even grabs all the colors Charles ordered Nia to secure. Eventually, Nia becomes torn between pleading with Charles or Ivana. Having had enough, Charles takes out her frustrations on Nia, pushing her off her chair for being too slow to stop Ivana. This gets a rise from Ivana and she lunges straight for Charles, but Emily manages to hold her back. Quietly, Nia apologizes, but this just breaks Ivana even more. In tears, she thrashes around in Emily's arms, claiming that Nia isn't a maid and that Charles should apologize. Finally, Nia speaks up. In quiet tears, she tells them not to fight or else she won't be able to tell her mother anything about the day. For some reason, this claws at Charles' heart as she remembers craving for her own mother's attention. In tears, she takes Nia's hand, making amends. And just like that, Nia has just made another friend. That night, Nia happily tells Lucia about her day, a melody of words Lucia loves listening to. But happy as they are tonight, Lucia needs to leave by daybreak. This saddens Nia, but she still puts on her bravest face as she wishes her mother a safe trip. Hours later, Leon waits alone at Stonehenge. His heart races as he replays his accidental confession. Left alone with Aiden, the two bicker nonstop. In the heat of the moment, Leon explicitly told Aiden that he sees Lucia as a woman and wants to be more than just a friend to her. Unbeknownst to him, Lucia had appeared beside him to return his pen. Now he can't help but overthink the entire thing. However, he promises himself that if Lucia rejects him one more time, he'll finally give up. Oh, Leon, what a hopeless romantic you are! Suddenly, Lucia appears behind him, startling him. Without further delay, the two then depart for their mission. Arriving at the Henkin village, a cloud of darkness shrouds the air, yet amidst the deserted and gloomy terrain, a bright pink inn stands tall. It's the Crosswind Inn. Inside, a young server, Ren, accommodates Lucia and Leon, hastily suggesting a one-bedroom booking, making Leon blush a deep red. Out of nowhere, a woman hits Ren, reprimanding him. But Ren sees no reason to be reprimanded since everyone here all asked for the same booking anyway. This is an inn for affairs partners after all. Lucia and Leon's jaws drop, their expressions appalled. Flustered, Leon immediately clarifies that they aren't in that kind of relationship. He explains that they're looking for Grancis. Knowing this, the woman then tells them where to find him, but still hands them a single room key, making Leon even redder than before. Shortly after, he follows Lucia upstairs. But before they get into their shared room, Leon stops her. Red as a tomato, he tells her he just cannot share a room with her. He won't forgive himself if a scandal against Lucia arises. Leon, get a grip! From behind them, the door squeaks open, and Supreme Commander Herbert Vanheim appears with a teasing grin on his face as he welcomes them in. Shortly, he explains why they've been summoned. In search of the source of the black corruption, Herbert and his team have stumbled across a small black shard powerful enough to corrupt an entire forest. They'd love to look for another shard to run some tests, but there's one problem. A special breed of beast guard the shards. Herbert believes that only a swordmaster like Lucia can stand a chance against it. He sets to return to the capital, but he has a bone to pick with Lucia before he leaves. Excusing themselves from Leon, Herbert cuts to the chase. He raised Lucia like his own daughter, so he knows her enough to know that Nia isn't hers. Lucia tries to deny it, but Herbert sees right through her. Black-haired child that wields divine power? He knows it all too well, but he wants to hear it directly from Lucia. Stubborn as ever, Lucia still doesn't budge. He may have raised her, but he's still the Supreme Commander. If she tells him that Nia is the Saintess, the Emperor might just hear about it and take her away. Surprisingly, Herbert tells her that he trusts her completely with what she's doing. What he can only hope, though, is for Lucia to trust him all the same, even if it's asking for help. Meanwhile, downstairs, Leon finds out about something called the Lake's Blessing. Turns out this place used to have shiny blue shells that grant people wishes when names of their loved ones are written on it and thrown into the lake. But ever since the Black Corruption, such stones couldn't be found anymore. Just then, a crowd gathers in front of Leon, risking his identity being revealed. Luckily, Lucia arrives just in time. But at their closeness, Leon can't help but melt into her arms. Ugh, somebody please let my ship sail! Leon being all soft and vulnerable like this, it takes them both to their first meeting. It was at a party when he was just 16, and Leon had just fled from the sight of women laughing at him. If only the incident 6 years ago didn't happen, he wouldn't be like this and his mother wouldn't be avoiding him. Accidentally, he spilled wine on someone but couldn't be bothered to stop at all. But who would have thought the same woman would follow him outside? That was the first time he laid eyes on Lucia. Honestly, he was surprised that Lucia even said a word to him. After all, nobody in his home spoke to him after the incident 6 years ago. Not even his own mother who once cherished him so dearly. I'm so curious about that incident. I hope we get more Leon backstory soon. When Leon comes to, he pulls himself up from leaning on Lucia. Yet as much as he'd like to stay in close proximity, duty calls otherwise. The door flies open as a man barges in, his voice laced with panic as he informs everyone that Ren and Finn have yet to return from the forest. Urgency courses through Leon and he leaps into action in an instant. Using his memory tracing spell, he tracks their whereabouts. But when he and Lucia are faced with a crossroads, they're forced to go separate ways. Lucia begins hacking down monsters in her path, but a desperate voice cutting through the air catches her attention. Following the voice, she is met with a horrifying sight. Men in black cloaks are holding the children hostage. Before them, a lone man in a white hooded cloak lowers himself to the ground, his hands reaching out to grab an entire crystal of black corruption. The scene itself revolts Lucia. There's no time to waste. She charges straight at them, sword in hand. The men conjure up a barrier, but it's no use against her. She manages to secure the children, but another barrier is put up. To her horror, the man in a white cloak begins absorbing the crystal. She charges again, but it's too late. They've already escaped. The men in black cloaks turn to ash, puzzling Lucia. As for the crystal, the majority of it has been absorbed, but there's enough left for her to take back. Arriving at the scene, Leon informs her that they must have been black magic users. But the magic they used is ancient, and art lost thousands of years ago. Leon can only assume they're liches, cursed sorcerers from this world. Back at the inn, the children are reunited with their mother, who tearfully thanks both Lucia and Leon. Surprisingly, this is the first time Lucia has ever been thanked so genuinely. Elsewhere, at the Verna estate, Nia and Ivana play with dolls together. Tomorrow, Lucia would pick her up, but for some reason, Nia feels doubt forming in her heart. Hearing Nia's anxieties, Julie is stunned. She reassures Nia that Lucia would come to get her, and why wouldn't she? No mother would leave her child behind. That is, until Nia tearfully confesses that she isn't really Lucia's. Nia, no! Why would you reveal that? Before Julie can say anything, Ivana enters the room, playing with her luxuriously rare hair oil. Back at the Henkin village, Leon and Lucia purify a corrupted forest right behind the inn. As spiritual power lifts the corruption, both are enthralled by the forest's beauty. Yet the sight of a strong and healthy tree ironically makes Lucia grim-faced. She remembers the sacred tree of the past. No matter how beautiful it was far too vile to justify its name. With a determined look on her face, Lucia reminds herself of her resolve to save Nia. To prevent Nia from being sealed within the sacred tree, she must find the tree and destroy it. But when Leon suddenly mentions trees having gender, Lucia's hope renews. If the restorative trees within this newly purified forest multiply, then maybe Nia won't have to be sacrificed after all. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!